Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Cubs Daily, presented by Fan Arch. My name is Steven Ryan. The Cubs dropped the series to the St. Louis Cardinals yesterday, 3-2. Just a myriad of missed opportunities, base running mishaps, being gunned out at second. Just a whole lot of things. You know the old saying, right? When it rains, it pours, and that's exactly how it feels to be a Chicago Cubs fan right now. We are going like this, while Milwaukee Brewers are going like this, and it's getting more and more distant by the day. I've emotionally accepted that we are going to be the wild card team, hopefully, if we don't blow that opportunity as well. But, not much to blame here. The pitching, I think, is doing a good enough job. I cannot blame Shota. He went almost 7 innings yesterday. He did his job. Only 3 runs in 7 innings. That is a good day's work for any starting pitcher, especially in the modern game today. And our offense just couldn't get it done. I will say this, and the last opportunity at the end of that game, we did have the guy we would want up at the plate, believe it or not, in Matt Shaw. Matt Shaw did give us the tie here with a 2-run homer in the middle of the game, but nonetheless, he is still a rookie, and it's never good to be banking on very, very young players. Not that I'm upset he didn't get that experience, but let's talk about Matthew Shaw, right? One of the best hitters on the team since the All-Star break. He's been absolutely incredible since then. He's one of the few lone bright spots on this Cubs offense. The only problem is he is batting 9th in the order. I don't think bringing him up in the order necessarily helps anything either, because then he starts to see a lot of different pitches, and we just need the young man to get comfortable, because baseball is an uncomfortable sport. It's a negative sport by trait, right? If you are a very, very successful hitter, you are failing 67% of the time. Or no, I'm sorry, 73% of the time. I consider 270 very successful. Major League average is just around 240, so that's 30% better than 30 points better than the league average. So I consider that a very successful hitter. Again, the times have changed on that thought, and we'll get into that into another video when that comes up down the road, probably in the offseason. But for right now, Matt Shaw, man, absolutely stellar job yesterday. Again, had that big 2-run homer. He seems to be figuring it out, which is exactly what you like to see for this Chicago Cubs team. Now I just need the rest of the Chicago Cubs to get on board with that idea as well. And then maybe, just maybe, we could cook something up here in Chicago. Even if it's just a wild card, appearance. I obviously want more. I have good expectations for my teams in the sense of I want a title. I want that to be the expectation here for the Cubs. I think that's what they want. It just doesn't seem like the moves and the way that this team is specifically playing matches those actions. Now, again, the expectations, they do lead to disappointment, but don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, this is the only expectations I have in my life right now. I expect stuff from the Cubs. Everything else, I pretty much just roll with the flow with and take life's punches as it goes. But yeah, all in all, just not a good night from this lineup, right? Suzuki had a hit. Tucker had a hit. Shaw, the lone bright spot, his one swing. He did strike out twice, unfortunately. But again, we cannot be upset. Imanaga, 6 2/3, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 9 Ks. That's good stuff. Even if he let up the 3 runs, I can't go out there and have him shut down the door on every single team. This is Major League Baseball. It is just not that easy. So Shota did his job yesterday. I am not upset at what he did whatsoever. I know every time that Shota goes on the mound, Matt Boyd goes on the mound, and Cade Horton goes on the mound, that this team has a chance to win the ball game. It's the lack of execution on those opportunities to win the ball game that is what's the most frustrating part, right? PCA finally finds a way on base. He then gets he steals second and then gets picked off. Just a myriad of things. We're gonna get to him in a moment, but again, Shota, brilliant. 9 Ks, 6 2/3. Didn't need all too much from the bullpen. The bullpen, they did its job. They held the score shut. Brad Keller only came in for an inning and a third, right? Just not much else you can ask for from the team, except they need to hit with runners in scoring position. Plain and simple. The trend of this team is obviously downward, but the thing I think I don't like the most is, how do I say it? When we score runs, we score 9 to 10 runs every 2 to 3 games. but then we pitter-patter at 1, 2, or none in the other 3 games in between. That's the part that frustrates me the most as a fan, is like, there's the potential in this offense. They still can't seem to string it together for, I'd rather take those 9 runs and disperse them evenly across the 4 games and give this team a chance to win. I know it doesn't work that way. I'm very aware of how baseball works, but, a more balanced approach to the game. Again, there's plenty of time for this to turn around in the sense of the team playing better. I mean, I don't think they can play much worse than this. But yeah, just a big series that you didn't want to lose to the Cardinals. And, another reason for this struggle, and we really talked about it on this channel all too much, is Pete Crow Armstrong. Pete Crow Armstrong, man, has just been in a rut since the All-Star game. Obviously, his numbers are insane. His WAR, he's approaching 7. What he brings to the table defensively, incredible. He got benched last night. I don't know if that was more due to his performance or due to the lefty-righty matchup Craig Counsell wanted to play. Either way, I don't know what the Cubs need to do for Pete Crow Armstrong in this situation. He just needs to figure it out. Now, this is the growing process, right? This is part of it with most young players. Most being like 99% of them. I don't know. In my generation specifically, I can only speak from my experience. I'm sure there are people in the comment section that can, attest to this and prove me wrong. I'm not denying any of that. But there's only 2 players that I can think of in this generation specifically, maybe 3, that have had continued success throughout their first 5 years of the league. Now, Steven, what do you mean by that? I mean, for example, Albert Pujols, okay? Albert Pujols, his first 3 years in baseball, he hit .329, .314, and .359. All with 675 plate appearances or more. That is successful. That is a highly successful man. And then he continued to hit .331, .333. Like, no one figured him out. That's my point. No one figured out Albert Pujols until he got old. That's how great Albert Pujols was. He had such a rough back end. His numbers are still insane. Still insane. 296 career hitter, 703 home runs. Albert Pujols is one of the best hitters I've ever watched. Personally. I know there's other players out there. I'm not saying he's the best player ever. I'm just saying he's one of the best players I've ever watched. Okay? Another name that comes to my head is Michael Nelson Trout. Okay? But even then, Michael Nelson Trout came up for a cup of coffee, right? Cup of coffee. He had 40 games, had 135 ABs. He hit .220. And then the next year he came up full time, popped off. .326, .323, .287, .299. Again, very, very successful. Generally speaking, I kind of think of Giovanni Soto as the highlight, right? He comes on the scene, he hits well, and then he gets figured out. And there's no adjustment back. PCA is in this process now where teams have kind of figured him out and figured out a way to pitch to him that he needs to figure out how to adjust back to the major league pitching so that he can get the pitches that he wants to take advantage of. And that's the part of his growth process that we are experiencing right now. Obviously, he is struggling immensely. Lots of strikeouts, swinging at just absolute garbage. I don't know, I think Seiya swings it worse. But at least for PCA, I know it's a growing process. The only part of it I need to know is he going to learn? Is he going to grow from this, right? It might not be until next year that we start seeing a more disciplined plate approach to PCA, right? He swings at 60% of the pitches he sees, or 60% of the first pitch strikes he sees. He has a high swing rate. Now he was hitting. Now he's not. Now it's kind of returning to the norm. So, again, PCA still having a fantastic season. I do not want to take anything away from him, but we're kind of watching that maturation process unfold. And, when you say maturation process, everyone thinks it's all high and gloomy. And like, oh, yeah, he's really maturing. It's ups and downs. It's battles. It's scars. It's torment. It's not fun. It's not a fun process necessarily. And I think PCA is going through it right now. Now, will he be better for it by the end? I would love to see that, obviously. But only time will tell, right? Only time will tell, and his actions at the plate. So, Cubs are off today. It is Monday, but we are on our way to the Toronto Blue Jays, the best team in the American League. They've been absolutely unconscious. They've been basically the American League Milwaukee Brewers, just slightly lesser to the level of the Milwaukee Brewers, but they've been incredible. This is going to be a good series to see where we are at as a team. Obviously, we're going and struggling. It is not fun to think that. I don't like thinking about that kind of stuff, but, you know, we know we're going to get Cade Horton in this series at least once, which is exciting to see. We're going to probably see Matthew Boyd at the end of the series, I would say. Where'd they go? And it looks like on Tuesday we got our man Ben Brown taking the bump. Going to be a fun one on Tuesday. Now, Ben Brown, to be fair, the other day when we lost, he was a bright spot. Came in 2 innings, shutout baseball. So maybe, just maybe, he's learned something. I don't know. Every day is a growing experience with this team. It's a balance of veteran presence and youth. And, you know, the youth is learning. And that's kind of the struggle we're working with right now. So I'm trying to enjoy that process and be like, hey, I'm enjoying their successes. I'm going to, you know, not criticize their failures, but I'm like, all right, this is a learning moment. You know, like it's that kind of thing with this team. Again, we haven't been to the playoffs in, 5 years. And I know we want to just get back and win the title, but, maybe there's steps to this, right? There's steps to it. We got to get to the postseason. We got to see how this team competes in the postseason and then make moves from there. So that's going to do it for Cubs Daily. Again, I appreciate every single one of you who continue to support the channel. Again, feel free to comment and share your thoughts down below. I know it's a struggle bus right now. It is August 11th, though. Plenty of baseball to be played. There's about 46 games left. The Cubs are still in the thick of it. They are still a good baseball team. But we will see where they stack up against the rest of their peers here towards the end of the year. So I will see you guys tomorrow, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day.